What does forgiveness look like between generations, especially when the past includes abuse, neglect, or misunderstanding?
So I make a big issue between the difference of forgiveness and denial. Forgiveness is saying, I am not going to try to change you anymore. I'm going to take the anger I have and give it to a higher power. In my case, it's God, but you may have a different higher power. But I'm going to be cautious toward you because in order for me to forgive you, there's this wonderful term called confession, which means to speak the truth. I have to admit to myself that you did hurt me and you could have done better and didn't. And you clearly haven't changed your behavior, so you may hurt me again. Denial says what happened to me wasn't that bad, and or maybe it was deserved, and it demands reconciliation and hushes the voice of caution. So when an addict or someone who's done something egregious to their children in the past wants to reconcile, they have to first come forward and do this confession, speak the truth. This is a problem in my life. It's something I'm not in control of. I may fall into it again. And I want you to hold me accountable when I do this. But I still want to be in your life. And then be prepared. And then you're making yourself very vulnerable when you do this. I know that. But then be prepared for the response of the child. And then most times kids want you in your life. And they may get mad, but they'll come back because genetically they're set up to wanting you in your life. But how it's going to look like in that forgiveness is still, it doesn't mean you don't have boundaries. You still have a sense of, if you're an alcoholic and you're still using, you can't drive my kids to work. If you've been sexually abused, you can't be alone with my kids. I'm sorry. Or maybe they can't be with your kids till they're a certain age. You have to hold them accountable in certain areas. If they're irresponsible with money, I'm not going to trust you. I'm not going to make a loan with you that you're never going to pay back. So it's learning to do those things, and that's painful to do with parents sometimes. I know a woman who she wrote a book on it. Her parents were homeless, and she became a journalist with the New York Times. And there were people who would say, "How can you let your parents be homeless when you're a journalist?" And she knew about the black hole and the big cycle. It's because that was the lifestyle they kept falling into out of choice and also out of disposition and some things that was cycle in their family. But she had broken it. And in order to survive, she, on one level, she had to separate herself a little bit. But she still had connections with them with these wonderful things called boundaries. Good fences make good neighbors. She had built some good fences with her family, and she could still talk over the fence with them. But they had to understand there were certain things in her life they couldn't touch. And if you have a parent who is involved in violence or them saying to you, I know about the fence and I'm willing to live within the fence that you've drawn for me in your life, can make all the difference in helping them to let go of the bitterness and anger. That, gee, this person really hurt me, and they're willing to let me talk over the fence with them because they understand that some sores won't heal overnight or may not heal on this earth, but I can still love them on certain levels. There's levels of love. Or I can still trust them on certain levels. There's some levels I may never be able to trust them on, but on certain levels I can. So learning to accept the boundaries from people that they put on you is a great healing element in a parent adult child relationship.
Very good. So, what's one thing you wish more parents of adult children understood about their role in this new season of life?